Gotcha.
There might be some dead airspace here because okay, there it goes. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Hoping everybody can hear this. I don't know who's in here and who's not yet, but this is just a little stream with Cody of Jack Irons in the Ironverse, talking about his recent Indiegogo for Jack Irons #3. I hope you guys can join us. If you don't, watch it later. But for sure, if you join us, start typing in chat, ask him questions. I'm sure he's eager to talk about this Indiegogo. And let's see, you were what about? Well, I'll just let you introduce yourself first, Cody. I'm sure everybody knows who you are, but go right ahead.
I don't know if everybody knows. There's always somebody else to reach. I'm Cody with Ironverse Comics, bringing you the best of the Weird Space West and putting the frontier back into the final frontier. Um, been working in comics not very long. Man hosting me here has been in the trenches a lot longer than I have. But I don't know. It's been fun. It's been fun. It's been interesting, and I'm happy to continue to grow what we're trying to do over at Ironverse Comics. And right now, that step, the step we're on is Jack Iron Steel Cowboy #3, the campaign. We're at about 20%, 20.5%, I guess, is what it would round out to at the moment from 78 amazing backers. And yeah, we're just cruising along, hoping to hit a couple real good days here and there, and hoping to get more Jack Irons in folks' hands.
Yeah, that's great. Let me pull that up real quick. I have it here, so just need to. There we go.
All right.
All right, all right. See, I'm not that incompetent, but yeah, Cody, I've had you on before. You were probably one of my first contacts here on Twitter when I was measly under 100 followers. I think I have you to thank for a lot of the followers I have now. You definitely know the hustle game, and that's one of the things I appreciate about what you're doing, especially with Jack Irons. I've read. I was a contributor to your last Indiegogo, so I have one, two. It's a good story. Uh, I don't know what kind of genre would you say it is. Post-apocalyptic, or just a dystopian universe, or alternate universe, or what do you think?
Yeah, it's a mix of so many dang themes. What I've noticed is with Diamond, you have to pick two. And so I kind of look at the back of like image books and such. And East and West, East and West went with dystopian science fiction, even though it's a Western. So it's all over the place. I would have to kind of qualify as that too, dystopian science fiction. But it's much more than that. It's a fantasy book with kind of how the universe and the rules work. It's a western because it's an immortal dead man's walk. It's science fiction because of how the world was affected and the creatures and wackiness in there, the involvement of aliens in space. It's a little bit of a historical drama because of Jack's past lives and the traumas and then what those meant to him. It's all over the place. I'm hoping most people just call it fun.
Yeah, well, it's definitely fun, and I know that I was drawn to the character early on. I just like the overall design. I've always been a fan of westerns, and you throw a western in a kind of a sci-fi setting, and I'm all over it because I'm a big sci-fi nut. But Jack has always been fun to draw. I remember he was one of the first fan arts I did on Twitter. So I'm really pleased to see that you're doing well, and you've got number three coming out here, and you still got what you have about what is it, 27 days left, something like that. Let me see here.
Yeah, about 20. Oh, well,
Yeah.
actually, yeah, 27, right on. You called it. We
Yeah.
do have a opportunity to extend that by about 25 days, but I may not do that depending on how close we are. Just to maybe change angles, change approaches, instead of digging in for another little bit fruitlessly. But we don't know where it's going yet. Definitely not going to have to deal with that till closer to that 27 days is over. And I mean, we're only about a week in, a week last night, about midnight or so, and we're a fifth in. So that, I mean, if we can hit 20% each week, then we basically make it. But that's two K. So I gotta get hustling and finding people who are interested. We you get an extra book for the same basic price this time around, which is nice. You're getting one, two, and three for the same price as folks backed for one and two, which was hoping that that's a good entry fee with that 25 flat for about 128 pages, a pin up, uh, what else is with that, and a sticker, and then you have options for a shirt or to get the full set of pinups, which Bruce here also put pencils to one of those pinups. I believe I call it Tentacle Train.
Oh, that's
That's a
right.
fun.
That's right.
Yeah,
Okay. I remember that.
yeah,
Um,
with Vincent Rush on inks and Josh the Amazing Animator on colors. That's a fun piece.
that was fun. That was fun to draw, and collaborating with those two. That was a lot of fun as well. Um, but yeah, so that's very cool. I'm looking on here. Yeah. I mean, you're doing pretty well, and like I said, I have full confidence you'll make it. I noticed that your goal was about what? Your goal's 10,000 this time,
Yeah.
uh, and that's I was reading some of it, and it's basically due to pay those creators, huh?
Yeah, basically, Maxi worked for less than peanuts. For the first issue for sure. Second issue it was about a three-time pay increase from what he did before, which was still peanuts. And then this time's about an actual indie line artist's rate, and even then he's taken about a $15-20 hit because he likes the book quite a bit.
Right,
Um,
right.
and so yeah, and then yeah, Steve also got a bump for his color work. Just overall, he's more in demand, and it was a reasonable bump, and I locked him in at it, so that's
Mm-hmm.
great. Um, and yeah, so yeah, that's pretty much where it's going. And also with Wicked Publishing pulled Jack out of the fire to offer physical issues last time. They paid for printing and fulfillment. We are paying for printing and fulfillment this time. So that
Oh,
was
okay.
that was the other huge bump. So uh, that's what I got it out to with merch and shipping, and hopefully we would get a little bit over that to really make sure I got all the bases covered. But uh, the numbers add up. If we can get to that and then just finish would be okay. So that's what I'm trying to do. I didn't want to put low and then hope to hit high and then be stuck without enough resources to get the books done. I think that's a kind of a bad idea. I didn't want to do flexible funding because, again, you can't guarantee you're going to get the folks the books if you didn't have enough money to produce the books. And
No.
so yeah, I had to take that extra extra jump forward. That total really it took me. I tried to wrestle it lower, and it just could not happen.
Right, right. I got
Yeah.
you. I got you. Yeah, it's costly. I want to mention here, El Crudo is in the is
Oh,
in the
right on.
chat, and he's telling you good luck. Really looking forward to Jack Irons 3.
El
So,
Crudo does a great Vietnam, an orangutan in Vietnam, like a genetically altered
mm-hmm.
orangutan, kind of conscious in Vietnam comic. I've enjoyed quite a bit. If folks are interested, look up El Crudo. I'm sure there's not very many other Vietnam orangutan books called El Crudo. Worth your
Oh,
time.
definitely, yeah. So, El Crudo, yeah, feel free to plug your book in the chat there. I know we don't have a lot of people in here right now. My channel's never been that big. I assume I drive people away. I don't know what it is. Maybe
No, it's
maybe
just
it's my
that you
blonde
don't.
avatar.
It could be. I don't know. No, I think it's you don't use the same thing with my channel. I'm a little bit bigger than yours, but
Hmm.
it's how you get attention, and a lot of that sometimes is appearances on other channels where you can get
Yeah.
interaction with their family. So it's just putting that extra and it's quite a bit of effort. That extra effort specifically into that angle is like a lot of times when I'm on a live stream, I forget to plug the YouTube. It's just because I'm trying to plug a book, so it's just
No,
it's all over
well,
the place.
no, absolutely, I agree with you.
Yeah,
I am not a big YouTube I mean, I like to watch YouTube, and I like YouTube channels as a whole of other people doing it. Me myself doing it, I've never been that comfortable of talking with people, and I'm comfortable talking to you and probably a handful of other people that I've met on Twitter, and so I don't mind doing like live streams with those folks, you folks. But me just getting on, I've tried it before. I've tried to do like a live stream draw. That's not very popular. Not a lot of people dig that. So I'm not sure where to go with the YouTube channel. I'm just experimenting. I'd like to have a lot more guests on, but it takes time. It's not one of those things
yeah,
that you could just, hey, we're gonna do this real quick, pop on, and I mean, I guess you could do that, but I don't know how popular that is unless you're a very popular person, right? So, but
yeah.
yeah, enough of that. Oh, enough of all that bullshit. Let's talk about Jack Irons. So,
Well, it's all about the grind. But
yes, yeah,
anywho, with Jack 3, there are actually four finished and inked pages on Indiegogo at the moment. The first four pages about the first scene of issue number 3, with Jack having a really bad day. Uh, Hopefully, we'll be getting most, if not all, four of those colored, and then I'm hoping to also get them lettered. But funding, that's all out of pocket. Um, here in the next couple weeks, coloring should be this week. We should have at least 2 or 3 pages done, which would be excellent. So you folks can see closer to what issue 3 is going to look like. I'm really excited for this issue. There's a lot more movement. There's a lot more action. A lot more kind of the world buildings. A little bit more in service to the characters' narratives, which I think people will appreciate and maybe get a better glimpse of why I'm taking my time and how I'm doing the things with the first 2 issues. I'm just this one's been a long time coming. Issue 2 was a long time coming. This has the same eternity feel to it. So I'm excited to. I've been excited to be trying to get it out, and I'm excited to see us hit that finish line so we can get back to my favorite part, which is creating and actually getting that book made and giving it out and showing it out and all that good stuff.
right, right. Well, I've seen you. I've seen you. You've been doing a lot of live streams on different channels, and um, on this one, I wanted to plug your book, right? I wanted to help you do it, but more importantly, what I kind of like to do is explore a little different avenue than most streams do, and that is about lessons learned about crowdfunding. This is what, your second or third one now? Is that correct?
Oh God, technically my fourth.
Right.
Two of them. The first one for Jack 2, and it was just Jack 2. It wasn't 1 and 2 printing and coloring any of that. It was just Jack 2 digital line art.
Right.
That one failed. Then second one had better timing, better hustle. I actually leveraged social media, and again, the timing was a huge factor. Just people were looking for new indie comics at that point, which was great, and there wasn't a huge gluttony of them. Uh, well, there probably was, but it wasn't so active in its promotion of itself. So when something was being promoted, it was more noticed. Anywho, timing was a big one. But then after we successfully funded issue 2 and got it colored and printed, and same with issue 1, with next thing we tried is I have a co-editor at Ironverse Comics, Dollar Coins. He came to me a long time ago. He's been very helpful in a lot of different aspects of all this. And anywho, he came up with the character Cax Coyote, and together we ran that campaign. That was a failed campaign, kind of. We got the ash can made and built during it. We got awareness of the IP out there, and so failure can be defined a lot of different ways. But
No, I
and then
get you.
after that, yeah, exactly. And then after that, we went to this. So yeah, I would say about four. Technically three, because I wasn't dollar coins ran the Cactus Coyote one, but I was doing marketing and promotion, so I don't know.
Right, right, right,
So three or four.
right. Well, my I guess my point being is that you have some experience in it, and I know that there's probably a lot of folks out there that are thinking about doing a crowdfunder or a campaign for their own comic, um, and I'm sure you have information that's probably going to be helpful. So, like, my question is, do you find them? Are they starting to become easier to do, knowing what you have to do, knowing how hard you have to promote yourself and help promotion of the campaign? Uh, is there less stress knowing that, okay, this is when I'm going to get my big pushes, this is when it's going to level off? Or do you find them, are they more stressful because, like, now you're asking for more, you need more money for the funding, and so do they become more stressful, less stressful? What do you think?
Well, let me answer on the stress level. Just basically is so I have more tools and more knowledge and experience available at me, but like you were also kind of alluding to there, the challenge is greater, which is fair. If you're growing and experiencing, you kind of want more and more challenge of your challenge so you can grow and learn and experience more. Um, but with the stress level, for me, this is like Jack's very very important to me. Just overall, the idea Ironverse Comics getting that working, and the connections and people I get to work with, their job, their work matters very much to me. Getting them work matters very much to me. So it's exceedingly stressful. It does not change if your heart's in it. Um, that being said, again, I have more tools, more experience, an actual network this time. The successful crowdfunder I ran last time, I started at zero followers like everybody in January 2018, and now two and change years later, I'm at 4,400 or so. Mainly just that constant hustle and that constant interaction and having uh, I don't know. I'm hoping partially the great art and the visuals and the genre and just kind of the niche Jack operates in. But I also think it's partially the interactions and how I go about presenting that product. And I think that's made people feel welcome, and so they've come. And I've been able to maintain a network of extreme talents like yourself and so many other people that have skills and abilities that I do not, that I very much need. And
Right.
again, it's I want to get them work. I want to be able to let them run around, particularly in my little world, but just anywhere I could. And we've been Jack 3 had a lot of interesting blessings out of the gate. Uh, Frank Martin Jr., a pretty prodigious uh, Marvel exclusive colorist, actually got a hold of me, and we worked out him working on a variant cover for this campaign.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
great. I read that something you posted, and that's really impressive. It's good stuff.
well, that, again, it's just another luck, but the thing is, you got to work with every angle you're given. I was lucky that that one came along. I think they're going to be really pretty colors. I've gotten the thumbnail from Maxi from it, and it's a great change of pace from issue number one. Those variants are exclusive to this campaign. They won't be reprinted later. And in fact, if it's how good I think it's going to be, it's actually going to be the comic paged, comic cover size metal print you can get in the steel tier on our campaign, which is a
Oh,
little expensive, but they're limited. But you can get a comic book paged, a comic book cover size metal print of maybe that image, maybe an original image. Depends on how good that image is. But so I'm excited. There's a lot of cool creation stuff that can be done, and the more we have, the more we can do. There's a side story I want to put in. Uh, by me and Vincent Rush about tracker that I'd love to have in the back of Jack number 3. That's our second stretch goal. The first one gets me a paycheck and gets everybody a second new pinup from somebody. I haven't decided how I want to go about that.
Right.
But yeah, I liked doing that last time. As I got to work with 6 art teams on pinups last time, and that was a lot of fun.
Right.
Learned a lot because each team was a little bit different dynamic. Like your team, you guys just went on a roll. It was pretty goddamn
Yeah,
easy.
I mean, yeah,
Uh,
that went pretty well and pretty smooth. Hey,
yeah,
before you
yeah.
continue, I want to give a shout to the people that are in the chat. Anybody listening? Of course, we already know El Crudo's in here, but now we have indie comic lovers in here, and he's singing the praises of Jack, which is good. Yes, Jack Irons is pretty sick. Um, I agree with you 100%. Thanks for stopping in. If you have questions for Cody, feel free to type them in there. I always like to include the people in the chat, so feel free to speak up. If I don't get to you right away, it's just because Cody talks a lot. No,
I do.
I'm just kidding. I'm just
I
kidding.
do though. I do. No
I
question.
know, me too. If you get me started, I won't shut up. It's like, shut up.
Yeah.
Uh, But yeah, and Cody puts in sweat equity and cares about. Yeah, he definitely does. That's. I don't know if you were here at the beginning of the stream, but that's what I was telling Cody. Something I really admired about what he does, and that's he's true to his projects. He really believes in them. He hustles a lot for it. I never hear a negative word from him on Twitter, and I can appreciate that. And everything he's done pretty much. He's had help, obviously. I mean, you get on
Oh
streams and
yeah.
stuff, you get help. But I mean, that's all. That's self fulfilling on his part. He does the work on it. So, and that's cool.
Well, that
I dig that.
was that was my goal of trying to make my stance clear on, I deal with individuals, and that means every customer matters, every creator matters, there's no there's no way that you can draw one line between two of those concepts for me, and that always means I'm going to be respectful and polite um, in
Absolutely.
my engagements, and people miss that these days. I'm surprised how well because most of the interactions that are like that, you won't even it'll just be a polite thing, and they appreciated it. You won't actually be hearing about it again and again and again. It'll
hmm
just be a something that sticks around with them,
Yeah.
and that makes a huge difference compared to a lot of other angles people go about.
No,
And
yeah. There's definitely different ways you can handle things. I mean,
yeah,
I definitely don't think that creators, should have to take a brunt of undeserved criticism or whatever. But there's
yeah,
different ways of handling stuff, and you have to remember in the end, even though you're creating a piece of art, it's still a business, and
yep,
you have to appease to your customer base. I mean, you're trying to draw in new customers, right? That's the whole point. Like you want more people to read Jack Irons. You want more people to enjoy the storytelling so that you can continue to do so. Because I'm sure you have a dozen stories to tell. Hey, El Crudo is asking, is there any non-spoilers that you could tell them about? Tell about the top predator, or maybe some other characters in Jack Irons 3?
uh, well, I kind of tease it in the campaign there, so it wouldn't be too bad. Obviously, he's well known on Earth as the top predator, um, the top killer in a world full of all kinds of horrors, and we haven't gotten to showing that yet. But there's giant kaiju, there's giant mutant horrors out there, and he's the man out there taking them out, and there's a purpose behind it. I'm hoping we get to explore that more in his solo. Again, we got 8 pages. There's an incident in Tampa that's mentioned in issue 3. Those 8 pages, if we can get to them, is that incident in Tampa where he slayed a what is loosely called a dragon. Very
Mm-hmm.
loosely called a dragon. I'm really looking forward to that character design and that little thing. It's a wordless, a textless comic also, so there's no speech throughout all of it. It's all just uh, it's all it's a lot on Vince, poor kid, but I think he can do it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think you can.
and I'm sure he looks forward to doing it too. We have Zero Fox in the chat. How's it going, man?
Oh,
Appreciate you stopping
howdy.
in.
Yeah, thank you so much, Zero. Thank you for the promo earlier. People have been liking that. I adapted it a little bit for Indiegogo purposes, just because of the size and shape requirements, and it's been really useful. I like the way it came out. Really appreciate you.
Now, forgive me if I'm wrong here, okay? Because there's so many independent comics to try to keep up with. But didn't Zero do something for Jack?
Yeah, he's our logo guy
Yes, he's the logo
and
guy.
our
Yeah,
and our gallery guy. He
yeah.
did the concept art gallery in issue 2 as well, and helped
Mm-hmm.
lay out the credit page a little bit. And he's been Johnny on the spot for those things, and it's
Yeah.
been just a pleasure. Really, really been integral to making everything look good.
Well, ever since he did that logo, I thought it was great. It's great branding for that character. It looks fits. It's really good. So good job to you, Zero. It's really good.
Oh,
Appreciate that.
most certainly.
Um, so let's see if we have any more questions for you. I don't see
Well,
any.
he mentioned some of the other characters.
Yeah, you got
In
anything else?
issue 2, you're mainly going to be dealing with Jack and Tracker, the top predator, but there is a little bit more to do with Kitty, the Anu. Uh, oh God, what is it? Annual Confederation liaison. She's basically the head of Earth. She represents humanity to the fascist alien councils and generals and soldiers that come on through, and keeps the reservation running and alive and relative state of freedom and safety, but relative is very key. You're going to learn a little bit more about her interactions with Jack, a little bit more about Sarah, the kid from issue 2, and we're going to start Jack's real journey. He's going to ride off into the sunset in 3 for the rest of the arc, and the rest of the arc involves Tracker and something he wanted. And issue 3 is trying to see what he wanted and why and how he goes.
Yeah, yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So just scrolling through here, but what made you like? Here's something I find interesting that you have going on with this campaign, and you have, and looks like you actually sold one, which is
I
good.
did. Yeah.
Which is the which is the I'm. It's a 3D. Well, it's a 3D render, but it's going to be turned into, I assume, a resin miniature, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's the size on that?
I
Does it
believe it's
say?
going to be 90 millimeters, so I think that's about 4 inches, something like that.
Okay,
And then
that's pretty
there's
good.
and I'm going to hand paint the ones in the campaign. I'm personally going to hand paint and put out with a certificate of authenticity and uh, a lot of personal communication between the backers and I about those miniatures. Um, that's why they cost so much. They're actually going to be publicly available, much less money with a standard gray, both in that 90 millimeter and I believe in a more standard wargaming 25 millimeter. I think it is
28, but yeah, yeah,
28. That's
yeah, yeah.
yeah, and so I'm kind of looking forward to see how those go. The gunslinger class just came to Dungeons and Dragons, so it's a good
Mm-hmm.
time. We'll see how that goes out. But yeah, if you folks want a hand painted miniature, we're gonna spend a good 6, 7, 8 hours on these a piece, and do my damnedest to make a really nice little personal thank you for helping us get Jack number 3 done.
Very cool. Yeah, and I would. I was wondering whether or not these would be popular with people for campaigns. Um, so because I always thought it'd be really cool for like when I went back with mine with the rec to have a little 28 mil or 32 millimeter miniatures to go with the team that's in the book, right? It'd be 5 of them,
Yeah.
but so I always wondered if it, if people would actually be interested in it, but
Well, there's a couple test runs besides mine, and with Wicked. Wicked wants to do a lot of their characters again, depending on what you're saying on how Jack does and how it sells.
yeah,
Uh, but the Rags guys, Regina's getting one done recently. Tim Lim, Black Hops Bunny is done. I've seen him printed like Jack. It looks great. Um,
Oh, yeah,
he's also getting
hmm
Common Rider, which I believe is their current campaign. He's also getting her done
Oh, okay,
right now.
okay.
So there's a lot of different trials going out, and I think there's of course going to be varying degrees of sales and success on the models. But there's going to be a couple of test cases to look at, and then you can kind of go from there. And I've got the contact if you want to get a hold of me when you go to the rec.
Is that the 360 model, or is that his
Yeah,
name?
Model
Model
316. Yeah,
360. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it looks like he's doing a pretty good job. So, is he gonna Is he just gonna print him, 3D print him, or is he going to print like a resin master,
He
and then
printed a
cast?
resin master. So the
Okay,
one that the jack you've seen is the resin master.
okay, okay. Right, right, right,
Yeah, so that's what he's doing, and then there's going to be molds.
right. Very good, very good. Yeah, that way you can make more than one. You don't have to keep printing out, you know, 3D,
Yeah.
3D. Make the molds are quicker. So, especially if you're going to make a couple different ones. So, well, that's cool. I mean, like I said,
Yeah.
it's something different. So I was really eager to see how well that did for you. And but is there anything else you've learned? Like, um, I guess what I'm getting at is I'm trying to pick your brain for people who might be interested in doing
Yeah.
indie. Like, yeah, have you learned anything about shipping, printing? I don't know, like where you plan on getting the books printed, or if you don't want to tell me, that's fine. But uh, obviously, the first one and two, you didn't actually do a print campaign on them, right? You did the digital. Uh,
Which became a print campaign by proxy. We ran a very weird uh, campaign. I don't think anybody else could have gotten away with how we ran that.
right.
Uh, because I had to manually collect all the mailing addresses and everything too. But the one of the things I learned, of course, everybody always says, check your international shipping costs. It's not hard to research it and find it out.
Mm-hmm.
I made a lot of our the expense if I had again. We couldn't have printed shipped without Wiki Publishing again, so they took a lot of hit in the international getting those books overseas for folks. And there is a wide range of prices depending on where you're going,
Yeah, I
and
bet. Mm-hmm.
so a lot of people got a steal. I mean, it was $25 flat, international, domestic, wherever. And that's what people paid for the books, 25 flat, nothing about shipping or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, don't do that. Make sure you go and research. Um, make sure you got that down if you want to do print books. I still pretty damn sure you don't have to do print books, particularly if you're producing the works yourself and you just need a little bit extra money to justify your effort into making that.
Mm-hmm.
I think some people could market digital just fine, and that will cut huge amounts of your cost out the door.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but it's a harder sell. Comic fans are usually pretty old school, even if
Mm-hmm.
they're younger, and they like books and they like holding it. They like the smell of the ink. They like seeing it, and they're moving the pages. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if they like the paper cuts, but maybe they like the thrill of the possibility.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but nonetheless, that's one thing. Make sure you have your printing and fulfillment kind of squared away. There's no problem, getting a hold of your printer and getting an estimate. All those kind of things. I go through Wicked Publishing for my printing and my fulfillment, which is nice. But the book prices can vary from which printer you're going to.
Yeah, exactly.
Particularly, I know if you're printing a lot of books, it's a lot cheaper to do it in China. But right now is not a good time to be doing almost any business in China.
All
So
right.
you kind of got to look in American printers because if you try to do Canada, they will tax the hell out of you, and then the shipping over the border is going to be a little crazy unless you're buying crazy bulk that big two bulk. Um, and so it's tough. Just do your research, find fair prices. Network is like the biggest thing. There's nice people out there who want to share their what they know with you to make they don't want to watch other people make the same mistakes, and that's what Bruce is trying to get out of me at the moment. Luckily, I was watching a lot of other people make different kinds of mistakes. A lot of them were more PR related than creation related, and that is an aspect, making sure your marketing is solid and has a consistent message and people can get comfortable with it. I've been building I've got about 3 slogans for Ironverse Comics. I kind of alternate and use when I can, and it's just getting that brand identity, that IP identity into folks' brains, so that when they think about whatever's related to it, it triggers the neuron that was to that phrase or that sound or that experience. So
Right.
hopefully that gets you another sale.
No,
it's
absolutely.
it's yeah, it's tough out there for one. If your heart's not in it, this isn't a cash grab. No matter the jokes about that, it's not a cash grab. It's a hard freaking place, and it's a hard business, and it's very fulfilling. So many amazing talents and good people out there, but it gets rough, and so you also have to kind of be tenacious and not let your perspective drift away from what you really want out of what you're doing. I see a lot of people get stuck in the trenches fighting, and it would be easy to kind of just walk on out and go about your business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
No.
there's a lot of little things to do with that. 90% of my time, well, no, 75% of my time on the books has gone to marketing and interaction, which that kind of sucks. But what needs to be done, and it doesn't suck so hard when you're doing it right and you're meeting good people and figuring things out and seeing new things happen. And I don't know, stick with it if it's what you want, but
Right.
don't let it drag you down into depressive where you hate it.
No,
Comics
that's
supposed to be fun. If you're not having fun, then
there's no. Yeah. No, absolutely. It's just like anything you do. You have to enjoy doing it, or it's not worth doing. Really. That's my personal motto. But El Crudo wants to know: did you go with digital printing or did you go with offset printing?
sadly, I do not know the difference, so I'd assume I can't answer that question in honesty.
All right.
I know we had to. One of the big things I did learn, uh, probably most colorists would know, but I did not know, is that there are two types of coloring file formats or whatever for
RGB
the
and
colors.
CMYK. Yeah.
Yep, did
Mm-hmm.
not know about that with Jack Irons issue number 1. So that was printed in RGB. So it's very dark compared to what it should have been. Still looks great because the colors didn't really get washed or anything, just got a little
That kind.
darker.
Now, El Crudo might know since he asked the
Yeah,
question. He might know, but I believe that's what would tell you whether or not it's offset or digital. Because I think digital print, it's kind of like they put it on a big, you know, a digital printer like you
yeah,
might have at your house, but it's a big industrial size one or whatever. And I think they
yeah.
can actually use RGB on that. The CMYK I think is reserved for offset printing.
I
So
do not know. I know we printed issue number 2 in CMYK and it looked better.
yeah, yeah.
So it might be offset then, because I actually that would make sense because I believe this guy had locked in. He bought a huge amount of paper back when paper wasn't what it was now, and that's part of why we get a pretty decent deal on his printing compared to a lot of other U.S. printers,
Right.
especially for our small bundles. So that would make sense if he had older equipment as well and be offset.
Right, right, right.
So that would be my guess. I do not know El Crudo, but hopefully we gave you enough information to kind of maybe piece it together. He also says printing was a big learning curve for El Crudo. The books are really nice. I have a pair. I'm still waiting to snag the third from El Crudo. It just came out, so it's worth waiting for. But his print quality was really good too. That's one of the things that really impressed me is when I got the first printer proof of Jack back from that printer. The pages were thick and nice, and it's gonna be durable for a while. The staples were pretty damn well good in there, and I've seen them do now more like square bound books and stuff from the same printer, and that's
Mm-hmm.
really high quality. So hopefully I'll be sticking with that for a while, and I can learn more and do. Uh, I want to do a trade paperback towards the end of the arc if we get that far. So we'll see how that goes.
No, definitely.
But
Get
yeah,
get 5 or 10 books out, and you can do a trade paperback, and make a little bit more money off your the reprints. Basically, is what they are, right? I mean, that's what
yep,
Marvel and DC does. That's what they
yeah.
do with their with their stuff. So, but yeah, see, this is all helpful information. This is the kind of things that I wish more creators would share with fellow creators. Is these are important things to learn and know if you're going to self-publish, especially in this day and age. And I've learned some things trying to get the rec done that I don't mind sharing with people. Anytime anybody wants to know, I'll gladly tell them. Volunteer the information. Now I have a smaller soapbox to preach from because I didn't succeed with my campaign, so I never put out the book. Not yet, but hopefully here in the future we'll have something going on. But um, you guys have been successful doing it the right way, self promotion wise. I've heard lots of things floating around on Twitter and the internet about how to do it successfully, and I don't know if there's a set way to do it successfully. I think each individual case is a different story. Um, Takes different things to get people going. Like some people are very popular, right?
Yep.
And so they're going to be successful. They'd have to try really hard not to be successful. You know what I mean? Um, and then some people who are not that well known or just starting out or whatever, they have to go a different route. And maybe this way is one route. Maybe there's another way that's another route to go, but I think it's all trial and error, and I think that the more people experience that, and the more they share that with other people, fellow creators, I think the indie market could grow quite a bit. Indie market's been around a long time. Me and you have talked about this before,
Yeah.
um, and it's always been a niche of a niche market, right?
Yeah.
I mean, comic books are a niche market. In the
Yeah.
'90s, it was real popular, right? They sold a lot of books, and people made a lot of money. And Marvel and DC were in their heyday, um, but it was still a niche market. I mean, you're not talking about selling Pepsi or selling Coke or whatever. So,
Yeah, it's
I
yeah,
mean,
selling water. It's not
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
it's not a necessity, and it is a medium that you have to be exposed to and have a fondness for to help it live. It's not one that's thrown in your face all the time. Its IPs are nowadays, which has been a mixed blessing,
Hmm.
but its actual products aren't anymore. You can't find them on newsstands. You can't find them on
No.
magazine racks. I think now you can sometimes find some big giant reprints. DC or somebody was trying that in Walmart, so they
Hmm.
got back on the magazine
Hmm.
shelves there.
Hmm.
But they're just not. They're specialty stores that
Hmm.
you got to go to. So usually somebody's not stopping in for something else and sees a comic. No, they're looking for comics. So
No,
it's
absolutely.
yeah,
At one point, the industry decided that it would be better just to go the direct market route, right? Through comic book shops and specialty stores and you know um, graphic novels in like Barnes and Noble and places like that. Um, and so that really squeezed their market down, right? Kids just couldn't walk into you know, to a grocery store and pick up a comic from a spinner rack and hey, this is cool. And I know that there are other people trying to do that now, like Alterna Comics
yeah.
they're pushing really. Peter's been, Peter's a good ambassador for comics. Right? He does it because he loves it, right? And so
Oh yeah,
he's trying
boy,
real hard.
I often call him the hardest working man in comics.
Yeah,
One
he's the
man
one
show
one
over
man
at
show.
Alterna,
Yeah,
freaking
exactly,
crazy,
exactly.
freaking crazy how many titles he deals with, the amount of creators having to go through hundreds of submissions per year, hundreds and hundreds.
Well, it's no wonder.
It's incredible.
It's no wonder he doesn't. No wonder he doesn't write or draw anymore. I guess, but
Yeah,
he's just so busy doing other things. But and there's a lot of people out there like that. A lot of people just looking to grow the industry, looking to get indie comics out there, and I just think that as creators, we don't have the. Let me see if I can say this right without pissing anybody off. Which I think is probably impossible, right?
yeah. No, somebody's gonna just be pissed off you're talking.
Right. Um, we don't have wherewithal or the means to find these things or do these things like a Marvel or DC does, right? They have a big company behind them. They've been doing it a long time. They have their own printers or people that they dealt with for a long time. They have the direct market distribution pretty much locked up. Uh,
Yep.
Independent can get into Diamond. It's very difficult though, and
Yeah.
that's why I always say that. I think the last time we talked, when we were talking with Cal from Shinobi Sasquatch and Macho and Muttman from
Yeah.
Hero, um, that's why I think even in today's digital market, print on demand type business, or even with the crowdfunding stuff, I still think that you got to have timeliness, right?
Yep.
You have to be able to deliver the book when you're going to say you're going to deliver it. Now, I'm not speaking poorly on anybody, because I know Cal. We were talking the last time, and Cal was saying they were a little bit behind just because they misjudged I believe. Now, Cal, if you listen to this and I get this wrong, just kindly tell me I got it wrong, okay? But it's just, but I still think that that's one of the reasons why I've hesitated going back to crowdfunder with the rec, and it's because I've decided that when I go back, I'm going to have an 80-page book. It's going to be perfect bound graphic novel, right? In order to
Yep.
do that, I want to have 80 pages of art and story done, and the only thing I want to have to be waiting on is coloring it and then the print. So I want to make sure that I'm that far along before I go to crowdfunder, just because once you start doing that, you basically put you, for instance, you're putting your
Yeah.
reputation out there, right? You're saying
Yep.
I'm going to deliver this book. I want you guys to believe in my book. I want you to enjoy it, and so now the onus is on you to deliver what you say you're going to deliver, right? So that's just my take on it, and I know other people have different takes, and that's cool too. Everybody can, and far be it from me to tell anybody how to do it, because, like I said, I wasn't successful. But I think the more creators help each other, I guess the bottom line here is the more creators help each other right now, I think the better off the indie market's going to be, because we are dealing with such a small niche market, and we need to be able to expand it a little bit and grow it. So, you know,
Yeah, and the more titles, the
yeah, exactly.
accessible it is to everybody, the more brains working at the problems, the more clever solutions we'll find, and like you're saying, yeah, things will improve as go. And I think we've seen that. We've seen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can't tell you how many creators just last year, year before, were not really anything done, and a lot of them saw what was going on, and they actually had the talents and abilities to wrangle some very impressive numbers,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and with very cool looking projects, and that was and has continued to be wonderful to see. But like you're saying, the goal should always be a timely delivery, because we only have so much time ourselves, and a lot of us, like myself, I would love to be a monthly release guy. I
Right.
want to be putting out as many stories and books as possible, because there's just so much to be done. So you should be working just at least I'm working for that angle just for myself, so we can get to that point. But your customers, your backers, whatever they become, you can do it through Patreon. Rags has been successful at that. Released about 7 issues in the time I've released two. Um, that kind of deal. Well, 6 issues. Seven's still taking a while. That one stalled a little bit, but it's there's a lot of different approaches, a lot of different ways to go about it. But at the end of the day, yes, you should be working to deliver as quickly as possible so that you can get into a groove where you're creating as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But also, it builds the respect and trust. But yeah, there's going to be speed bumps. There's going to be things you
Yeah,
didn't know.
absolutely.
There's going to be random printer breaks. There's going to
Mm-hmm.
be a misshipment. There's going to be those things. And so, the number one goal, and the thing I found, is don't be afraid of your backers. Let them know your problems. If you're afraid of them, it's just going to be that much
Yeah,
worse
it's
when
just gonna
whatever
make it
you
worse.
think you're afraid of, yeah, is actually like comes out a different way.
No, no, absolutely, and like speaking to issues or problems. I mean, you're talking about a very small team. Sometimes you're talking about one person
Yeah.
trying to do the whole thing, right? So
Yeah.
you get sick, if you get the flu for 4 days or whatever, I mean, that throws your timeline way off. And I think that's understandable to most people. But I think you hit the nail on the head. You just have to be upfront and just tell people, hey, this is what's going on, and I think most people would understand that and be cool with that, I look, I've contributed to crowdfunders, not only comic books. There's been two comic books I've contributed to, and they haven't been delivered at all. One was back in 2013, and I still haven't
Oh
seen hide nor
boy.
hair of the book. So, but not only that, but other things. I've participated in a crowdfunder for a video game before, and a video game or a crowdfunder that raised almost $1 million, and they never released the game. I lost. I lost. It wasn't a lot. I lost $35, but it's like
A lot of people lost
a
$35.
lot, especially especially you're talking about the total
Yeah.
they brought in. So it's
Yeah.
like, you know, it could be a lot worse because you lose 15, 20, $25 on a comic. It could be
Yeah.
worse. You could lose $50 or $100. But I'm just saying that that's one of the things that I've always thought, and my personal thing has always been, if I'm going to do this, I want to make sure that the book is just nearly done before I do it, because, and that's just me. That's my personal preference.
Well, no, it's
But
smart to minimize the risk to everybody involved in the transaction.
yeah,
Everybody feels better that way.
yeah,
Oh, this book's basically complete except for this color that he has the colorist right here,
yeah,
ready to go when he's paid. Yeah, I think that's probably going to release.
yeah.
Compared to I got 3 pages sketched out. Here's some thumbnails
Right.
and a paragraph of text
And we're going to
telling you
get it
what.
done. Right.
Yeah, it's that kind of thing. There's some creators that can get away with just putting a couple pictures in a paragraph,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but they earned that.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Basically, they know who their customers are. Their customers know they're going to get something eventually, and
Exactly.
they
Exactly.
want to engage that, and that's fine. But
Exactly.
when you're starting out, it's better to have a little bit of artistry, a little bit of flair, something to
Mm-hmm.
stick in people's minds, and then reinforce that with trustworthiness, and definitely don't make them afraid.
No.
It's a gamble. Comics is a gamble when you're a creator, and comics is a gamble when you're a reader, because you don't know what's in that book until you read it, and it could have been a cruddy book for $5 or $2,
No.
whatever. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So if you
Absolutely.
can minimize those risks, that's the best way to do it. With Jack, that first campaign, or first and second campaign, it how we minimized that is we had the full book in black and white to read, lettered very poorly, but it was there digitally for people to look at, because we had no name. We have some pretty pictures, but does that fall for the story? Does it look good? Is it something interesting? You can't tell that without checking it out. So that's how we did it. But you do lose, you can lose sales that way too. Somebody might not buy number one because they can read it for free. But I think that's few and far between in the indie market, when somebody likes something and they know that it's very niche.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then they're more likely to want to keep it around if they like it, and they know it's a little bit more on the line. It's not a guarantee. It's not like well, this issue of Wolverine sucked.
Right.
Okay, are
Right.
they gonna not make any more Wolverines? No.
No. Absolutely not.
You're gonna
Yeah.
have a bunch more. But
Yeah.
with the indie market, yeah, it's a whole different story. You don't like that number two, there might not be a three or a four, or
Mm-hmm.
anything else, very
Well.
easily.
Yeah. Well. Back in the day, God, I hate saying that because it makes me sound like an old fart. But back in the day, I remember in the '80s, before the small press collapse, the indie collapse, which almost crushed the comic book industry at that time. Speculative market that happened in the '90s that kind of hurt.
Yeah,
But
yeah. It's like, oh, X-Men number one is gonna be worth
well, yeah. Oh
a
yeah,
buck
yeah,
50 now.
yeah. I actually worked part time in a comic book shop that my buddy owned, and you'd be surprised how many people just came in and, you know, oh, there's a number one book that came out. It didn't matter what it was. It didn't matter if it was Marvel, DC, a Fantagraphics, a First Comics, a Comico, or some black and white book that nobody's ever heard of before. Blackthorn Press, I think, was one of them. they'd buy it. They'd buy 5 copies of it, just thinking it was going to be worth. They could triple their money in a month, and so I mean, they were buying this stuff like it was going out
Well,
of
it was the same
style.
time they were doing sports cards too, and that value didn't ever
Yeah,
really go up
yeah.
either. It was a lot of people saw blood in the water, and a lot of people had excess income and were looking to invest.
Hmm.
And these were simple to understand investments. They just weren't presented properly.
No,
You
exactly.
lied to. It's an easy investment when you're looking at it from that point, but it's not going to do what they're telling you it's going to do,
Well,
and that was the big issue.
yeah. Well,
I don't know. I hope they at least thought they were going to be worth something. It wasn't just straight up, let's sell 3 million books. But
well,
who knows?
well. And all I was going to say, in all fairness, well, let's see. By the way, El Crudo says, as an unknown indie, we felt we had to produce first and sell second. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you, 100%.
Yep.
Once you have a good product and solid product and something that you are very proud of, then it makes it easier to sell. It's harder to sell something that doesn't exist yet. An idea. It's hard to sell an
Yeah.
idea. Ideas. Somebody told me once, and I think it's a trope, and it probably fits in perfectly here. It's that ideas are a dime a dozen. Okay, it's execution that wins, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, back then, I think they really did believe that the books were going to be worth something. I mean, it was crazy, but I mean, when you
Well,
see,
and then you think of Beanie Babies too. That was a whole thing.
yeah,
Same idea. People splitting them up during a divorce, that kind of thing. So
they're
so
just
yeah, I
ridiculous.
mean,
Yeah.
people get involved in material investments very quickly. So I
Mm-hmm.
guess that makes it easy to sell them. And
Mm-hmm.
from the indie comic books, especially the crowdfunding perspective nowadays, that's kind of what we're trying to do again. One of the things I learned, that's one of the things I learned,
Mm-hmm.
was that the rags guys, they did not like the speculative market that you were just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And so they kind of tried to go anti that with print on demand. What they found is the more you rage against the speculative market, the worse things get for you for no good reason. There's
Right.
no reason for, because they want your books. They want to make money off your books. There's no animosity there.
Right. Right.
And so you have to make sure you have your print numbers known. You have to make sure you only print that amount of that, and that's what you disclose. That was a big one. If you're doing print on demand, that can be a thing, but then it's known as print on demand book, and then its collectability is completely zero. And people are trying to figure that out with the Antarctic Press, like how many prints are this? Get all the first prints of rags. The Timothy Lim variant for Patreon was going for like $300 on eBay
Mm.
and shit, and they had no idea that was a print on demand book. And so there's been different kinds of troubles there. And so what they ended up doing is they actually got to the CGC and made sure they were set up properly. And now people can just send their books straight to the CGC to get graded, and they'll get graded and have their value and be in that nice case and whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
the speculative market got real happy because all they had to do was close print numbers and do that.
Right. Right. Well, I guess can't beat them, join them. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
involuntarily, obviously,
Yeah.
but yeah. So um, I guess it just. I guess what I was trying to say was even back then, a small press was that's what they used to call indies, the small press, but um, just a very hit or miss, and it was easier to tell if you could. Well, I don't know if that would be easier, but back then it was easier to decide if you were going to continue to do what you were going to do because if you had your book, if you were an indie publisher, and you had your book and you had it solicited in Diamond, of course you had to have three. You had to have 3 issues ready to go, right? Because you couldn't be late because they'd cut your orders.
Yeah.
And so if number 2 sold way less than number 1, you might hang around for one more issue just to see. If the trend was going down, then you'd probably stop producing because it was just too costly. You're pouring good money after bad, trying to figure out whether or not your story was going to be a success or your comic was going to be successful enough for you to continue doing it because I know after the bankruptcy of so many Glenwood distributors, Capital City distributors, and I lost thousands of dollars at the age of 21, I knew that it was like, okay, I had to quit. I had to get out. So I think that in this day and age, it's easier in that aspect because you don't, you're basically volunteering your time. You're putting your time in, right? If especially if you draw and write, right? You're just the only money you're going to lose is your time. You're going to lose your time that you spend on it. And that way you could endeavor to keep going and be better and do better. And I think for folks like you who are a writer, that you're having to employ artists and colorists and letterers, it's probably a little bit more difficult, but still you can go issue by issue and you could do it at your own speed. But just as long as you know what your speed is, you go into a campaign and you say, this is going to be delivered in 6 months because I know what has to be done and everything. So if people contribute to that, knowing that they're going to get their books in 6 months, that's cool, right? Because, as long as you deliver in 6 months, you're good. So.
Yeah, I think I gave us 8 months this time. Last time I gave us 6 months, and we delivered issue 1 within that time frame. We
Mm-hmm.
did not deliver issue 2 within that time frame.
Right.
I think that took near a year. It was close.
Well,
With number 2.
yeah. And with indies, it's a completely different story because it's not a full-time job.
No.
Artists, I don't know if people realize this. I'm sure there's a lot of people that do realize this. I'm being facetious. But art, drawing a comic book takes a while. I mean, it's not like some people can do it quicker than other people, but it's not something you just pump out in a week, 24 pages in a week. If anybody can do 24 pages in a week, I either question the quality of the art or I question if they get any sleep. Okay, one or the other.
And freaking mangaka probably lose both. They sacrifice bits of the art, particularly with backgrounds, and they have assistants. It's usually a trail of assistants that are doing inking and finishing the words and doing
Right.
all that. And they produce in a week, but they also, a lot of them have some worst burnout rates imaginable.
Yeah.
Because for that weekly demand, I mean, comics at a monthly pace lately have been kind of rough on certain creators, but a lot of them are new creators. But it's a trip. It's a trip. It would be easy to get burnt out, and
Mm-hmm.
it would be especially if you're not actually it's not successful. You're not making a bunch, and you're not getting a huge trail. You're not getting that bit. But if it's for instance, like you were saying, you can persevere as a writer artist and justify it as a hobby and improving your skills and keeping the bet going.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you got to choose where you invest your time because there's only so much of it.
Yep. No, absolutely. Absolutely. So, let's see. There's questions? No questions. Anybody in the chat, you got questions, feel free, like I said. Or just comments or whatever. I did want to ask you about, obviously, anybody new came in. We're talking to Cody about Jack Irons 3, which is on Indiegogo right now. You know what? I forgot to put the link in the description, but I will after the video's done.
Cool, thank you.
I'll do that. And I'll blast it on Twitter because you're always doing it every day, so I'll just share what you're doing. But yeah, he's got 27 days to go. He's almost a quarter of the way to his goal, and so this is a really good book, guys. This is one of the books I recommend because I've read the first 2 issues. I know what it's like. The art's good, very stylized, fits Cody's story perfectly. Colorist is banging, very good stuff. This is a good independent comic. Okay, there's a lot of indie stuff out there. A lot of people trying to make their mark. This is one of the good ones. So if you're looking for, I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna call it cowboy sci-fi. Okay.
That's fine. Good as any.
If you're looking for a good cowboy sci-fi story, you can't go wrong. And I think let me see here. I'm gonna scroll down here. Yeah, you got the complete package, which is $25, and you get the digital and extras for issues 1 and 2 and 3, and you also get issues 1, 2, and 3, and a sticker and an 11 by 17 pinup. That's pretty good. Pretty good for $25. Well, what would you say
Um,
that's about? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
well, the issue 1 and 2 in there also are the exclusive variants that are only going to be on this campaign. That we're only going to print. We're going to round off the number, but as many as we sell. So those will have an extra collectability to them if you folks are interested. Uh, it's very rare an independent book can get an exclusive a Marvel exclusive colorist on it. So I'm kind of hoping that also will add value for folks. So I'm hoping you will be getting more than your money's worth just on the actual value of the books, not even all the heart and soul that the team puts into them to make them good.
Right, right.
So I'm really trying to hedge your bets, folks. Doing my best. The 11 by 17 pinup will be one of the 6 produced for the last campaign. If we hit our first stretch goal, you'll actually be getting 2 11-17 pinups, and one of them will be original and exclusive to the campaign, so that one won't be resold either. And there's add-ons for T-shirts, and there's add-ons to get all the pinups if you don't want the gamble of which pinup you're going to be getting. And yeah, anywho, go on, Bruce.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. Yeah. By the way, one of those pinups, I think, is something I
Yeah.
penciled. Right. Right. Is that right?
Yep. No, absolutely. Yeah, the
Yeah.
tentacle train pinup, which you'll get to see all 6 if you have an issue 2 because they're in the back. We made sure to get all of them in there. But there's one by Art Claude Bruce, Vince Rush, and Josh the Amazing Animator. There's one by J. Paul Sheik, 2D Spaceman. I believe his name's Paul Billick off of Shinobi Sasquatch, the colorist. And that Crafty Foxy from Wicked Publishing. She works on Sporkman and May she did and Changeling, and she did the wonderful colors on the tracker pinup you guys see in the campaign. Then there's one by Bob Stone, where it's Jack on a golden cybernetic horse riding through a canyon, being chased by bandits. That's a fun one. There's a pinup of Cax Coyote getting tossed out of a casino by Mr. Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
And oh man, I might be forgetting one. Yeah, I am. I am actually. I'm forgetting. So the writer for Von Klaus at Rise Again, the writer for Monster MD, did the line art for a pinup, and we had Narwhal from
mm.
Earthbound and a few other things. He did the colors on it.
Mm-hmm.
So our old pinups, I worked with a lot of talent. Carl Rowe and Essie Tonks. That's the other one too. Carl Rowe did the line art on one, our Four Horsemen pickup pinup, and Essie Tonks did the colors on it. So I worked with a lot of talent that this last year actually took off, which was kind of fun. I loved seeing that.
No, that's
Because
yeah, that's
back when
good.
Rise Again, there he was trying to draw his own stuff, and I hadn't heard about Monster MD or anything, and out of nowhere, it was very cool.
Yeah, I remember having him on one of the. Well, I think we were talking about Monster MD, matter of fact, and it's amazing that you've been able to attract so many different talents, right? And I think that speaks volumes to the way you interact with people and the quality of the product that you're pushing. So I think that does well. So, but yeah, this is the package. If anybody cares, this is the package that I'm going to be backing. I haven't backed it yet. If you have a brain, you could probably see that if you see down here, it says get this perk, right? It means I haven't
Yeah.
backed it yet. I am backing it. So, Cody, don't freak out. I'm backing. I'm supporting you. I haven't done it yet.
Okay.
I
I don't
have.
know if I believe you. I'm
Uh,
not sure. It doesn't say it.
I doesn't
No,
say it
thank you
yet.
so much. No, we've got time. Most backings come at the beginning and the end of campaigns, basically no matter what. Some can have a very consistent flow, and I really appreciate people who are able to reinvigorate a campaign in the middle. I'm gonna do my damnedest to do that myself coming up here soon. But really, I'm not giving up till the final hour, and even then, we got a little bit more time, maybe if it looks like we're close. So
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, I mean, get the sooner you guys get on it, the more likely it can get higher and more awareness passively on Indiegogo, which I don't know how much that can bring in, but I've certainly gotten some passive backers through Indiegogo because
Yeah.
names I completely didn't recognize, and a lot of interesting things.
Well,
So I don't know.
there's something I want to ask you. Well, I don't want to
Yeah.
ask you, but first I want to tell El Crudo, yeah, good night, dude. He tells you good luck, guys. Have a great night later. So
Oh, thank you so much.
take care,
Yep.
dude.
Take care, El
Yeah,
Crudo.
take care, man. Thanks for stopping by. If you haven't hit the like button, you can sub too. I don't put out a lot of content, so you don't have to worry about getting spammed. So, but anyways, yeah, I think Indiegogo allows you to track where you get most of
It
your.
does.
Okay, yeah. Okay,
It
that's
does.
good.
I did last campaign. About 75% was me hustling, which was funny. Then there was a couple from other people hustling on Twitter, and then there was a little bit passively from Indigo. I think it was like 7%, but that's 7%, you know. So
Right.
you still don't want to lose that. Um, and last time we hit our goal. But no, we didn't hit our. I feel like I don't remember when we hit our goal, but I know we funded and then we went into stretch goals for coloring and such.
Right.
And
Right.
at that point, it got way more passive awareness from GoGo. Once you fund, they're more likely to put you forward and at the top.
Right. Right. So I wanted to share this with people in the chat. Share this with Cody as well. I don't need to share it with him. He knows about this already. But here's the pencils for the pinup that I did for that. So just so anybody
Oh,
cares, yeah. So boop.
neat.
It still has that weird. I'm still bothered by that, but it's a good picture, especially
It
after
is.
especially after it got inked and colored. I like it. I thought it was fun. It was fun to draw. But yeah, that's enough about my crap. So, anyways,
Oh,
but yeah. So I mean, we've been on here an hour. I did want to ask you a couple things about um, what else? I mean, you have a YouTube channel that you
yes.
probably want to you probably want to plug that a little
So
bit, don't you?
just look up Ironverse Comics in YouTube. You'll find us right away. Nobody else is using that. If you just look up Ironverse, there's a couple rappers. But if you look up Ironverse Comics, it's us. You'll find us. Just look for the cowboy wearing metal.
And
Um,
I'll add the link in the description for that as well.
all
After
right.
we get done here.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Um, we do. I try and do at least a video, usually an update stream. Sometimes just a gameplay stream. Sometimes there's three or four. We also those go straight up on my Patreon too. So if you guys just want to follow on Patreon, you don't have to back. You can get all the content I put out emailed to you, so you don't miss anything, and you don't even have to give us a dime for it. If you want to give us $1 a month, you'll get access to a bunch of other good stuff. And honestly, Patreon's the best way we can become a consistent release studio. My goal would be to, if we can get about 5K a month, I can produce Jack bi-monthly. If we can get to 10K, I will be doing my damnedest to produce one of our other series on the alternate months of Jack Irons. So one month you get
Mm.
Tracker, then you get Jack, and then next month you get Lady Silverado, and then you get Jack. And we'd see how that worked and to grow it. But that's the big pie in the sky dreams, passive income. That would be excellent. But for now, we're doing these crowdfunding campaigns. So the best way you can support us is to back the campaign. You can't back it, share it as much as you can if you enjoy what we're doing. If you want to put the frontier back into the final frontier. There's just not enough West space out there anymore, and there's been a resurgence and new interest in the older '80s kind of vibes there, like Galaxy Rangers and Brave Star. Samurai Jack's getting a new video game coming out too, and there's
Mm-hmm.
re interest in there. The Mandalorian bred a lot of more interest in the space western. So it's good time. It's a good time to get on board the Ironverse Comics train. I think. I
No,
really do.
definitely. Yeah, definitely. I think this would be a good jumping in point for anybody that hasn't read Jack Irons and wants to believe recommendations. I mean, because you can get the whole series, you can get the whole run, and a pinup and a sticker for $25. That's a good buy. It's a really good buy, especially in this day and age of crowdfunding. What games are you playing, man? What games are you playing on the channel?
Oh, anything that'll old dinosaur here. She does all right, but she's on her last legs. I'm hoping make a good profit, replace this so I can stream a little bit better. But
Mm.
I did a good chunk of the first Witcher on stream for a while. Did about 20 hours of that on stream. I've done I did a full playthrough of Wolf Among Us. That's on there. Uh, I don't know. I have random junk usually. It's usually just background.
Right. Right.
But I mean, there's things that my main goal with the channel is just to be accessible to people who want to ask questions or
Right.
any kind of engagement. I do try and create actual content there, but the main goal is just to be available. So
You also have a Discord channel, right? Ironverse.
I do, I
Yeah.
do. That you get through our Patreon, or you can contact me directly, and I'll most likely shoot you a
Oh,
link.
okay. Okay.
I used to do it publicly. I advertised it, people wouldn't come in, and then one day a bot came in, and it was a nightmare cleaning up the mess that bot left. So
Hmm.
made it it's more private
So
now.
you make it more
It's a
private,
quiet
yeah.
Discord though, so if you folks just want to check it out, it's fine. A lot of different promotional channels. I have a few neat bots that drop uh, comic strips in channel, and then another one that drops historical fun fact information on all kinds of different stuff. Basically, YouTube channels I watch when I'm trying to learn business or get a tidbit of history.
Right.
Um, but yeah, and there's a bunch of bunch of bells and whistles in there that don't tend to get used, but the infrastructure's there if it was ever to wake up. So I'm happy to have it there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. I thought about doing that I I've been I dabble in a lot of things. Okay, and I'm a fan of tabletop gaming, war gaming,
Yeah.
and and so in skirmish games. So like Infinity, Warhammer Kill Team, things like that. So I've been working on a rule set for like 8 months. Right?
Ooh,
It's just something I do. Like you know,
cool.
it's not something I dedicate a lot of time to. It's just something hobby, I guess, is what you want to call
Yeah.
it. But I've actually got that's my notification on my phone. Sorry, guys. I'm not actually on a Star Wars set. Don't get all excited. Okay. Um,
Oh,
the no the I've got people beta testing. I've got a couple people in Austin
cool.
beta testing, and then people where I live here in DFW area. Um, and so I thought about, oh man, I should really throw together a Discord channel and get beta testers or play testers in here, and so discuss rules and rule changes and stuff. But
Well, that
like,
would be a good idea,
yeah,
honestly,
yeah,
because it's a different. That's an active like you're trying to refine a game.
yeah,
Comics you want to refine too, but the information's different and less active. And
yeah, yeah,
with a game, each game is different.
yeah.
Hopefully,
It's not as
so
real time
yeah,
as a game is, right? Comics aren't. So,
yeah,
but
yeah.
um, but I've got so many. I've got the wreck that I need to finish it just for my own sanity. I want to go back just to see if I can do it, just to see if I can get
Yeah.
people interested. But I'm also working on another comic project. I hate when people do this, but I can't say anything about it because it's not mine. So, but I am working on something, and then. So I don't know. Just time. There's so much. There's not enough time. So many things to do. So, and then, but is there anything else that you'd like to? I don't know if we like I said we've been on here for over an hour, and I usually try to keep it about an hour because people usually lose interest after an hour, or the guest gets tired, or whatever. But is there anything else you want to touch on
Zero
concerning Jacob?
Fox had a question real
Yeah,
quick. I hope
shoot.
you're still here to hear it. He's asking Lady Silverado if it's still go. Lady Silverado, I have Carl O'Roe attached, and as far as I know, yes. Last I spoke to him, it is. I've just been letting him be busy with Death Sworn. It's been doing great, and he just finished issue one's inks, if I remember right. So he's busy. And these side projects are, they're in time. I wanted to make sure I had the connections with the people I wanted to work with was the main reason they even got announced.
Mm-hmm.
And just like with Bruce, like Zero Foss asked afterwards, Golden Monk, Bruce has already done some really cool concepts that I'm sure will refine getting towards the time, But
Absolutely.
one step at a time. Uh, Best way to support Ironverse Comics is Jack Irons #3 at the moment. The more money we have in the universe, the more we can do.
Yeah. In
It's,
the
it's no
till.
question.
The more money you got in the till, right? Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm really looking forward to doing the Golden Monk stuff. That's going to be a fun character based on your approved concepts that I drew up.
Yeah, those were pretty neat. I like them.
That'll be fun. So, yeah. So hopefully we get to that. I don't know. I don't know what your timeline is, but
The
whenever we'll get to
timeline
it.
is, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
One of the possibilities is if somehow Jack 3 exploded, I got
Hmm.
60K, 70K, then that's when I'm looking into doing the Ironverse anthology book, which would be a Cactus Coyote 8-page mini, a Tracker 8-page mini, a Golden Monk 8-page mini, and a Silverado 8-page mini.
Hmm.
That would just be it.
Hmm.
So that would be the only way that happens in any kind of rush, or
Right.
or would
Right.
be talked about in any kind of rush. And
Right.
I don't think that's gonna. Uh,
Yeah.
I
You
don't
never
think
know.
that's gonna happen, but I would definitely love it to. I'd love to get all this ball rolling and bring the best of Weird Space West in so many different ways.
Yeah. You never know. You never know.
Yeah.
Anything can happen. So, but I guess we could wrap it up. I could talk to you all night about comics, and because I'm a talker, I could talk anybody's ear off. So, um, we can run this video. You want to play this video to close out the
Yeah,
thing? Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
The campaign video, I'm guessing. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's
Yeah, that's by my oldest friend. Did the music, Laguna Munta. Check out his original rock and roll wherever you get your digital music, preferably Apple Music, if I remember right. And Dollar Coins, co-editor of Ironverse Comics. He did the video editing. He always does stuff in 4:3, which I kind of it adds to the retro feel of it. I kind of
right,
like it.
right, right.
But anyway, enjoy, folks.
Yeah, let's play it. Can you hear it? Okay.
I probably won't be able to hear it myself. Just let me know when it's done.
I wonder.
Because Discord, you could share your screen or whatever with through Discord, and I could see it. But then, yeah, it's no worries.
Okay, I just want to make sure they can hear it in there.
If you have your desktop audio being captured, they can. Yeah, if it was in there, let us know.
All right, man. That was it. Good stuff, man. Do you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
Sorry, I turned off my mic
Oh,
for a
no,
minute.
no problem, no problem. So, yeah, that's right, Zero. Laguna absolutely nails the flavor. Yeah, he does. It fits. Like I said, Cody, I think you got really good property here, really good IP, doing good work with it. You've got a good creative team on there. I think if you got some longevity, as long as you've got enough stories to tell, and I think you'll build up your audience, and I think it could become something good. I mean, you could be doing this for the next 10 years, 20 years, who knows? Be
That
telling
would be
Jack
cool.
Irons tales. Yeah, yeah. So
I'd appreciate that very much, folks, and only you guys can help me do it. And Bruce here already has quite a bit. Our first campaign, that fan art made a huge difference. Every piece does, but you went above and beyond. I think you did 6 pieces last campaign. Freaking crazy.
yeah, I did a lot. I told you I like the Jack Irons character. I like drawing him. I will admit though, don't tell anybody this. This is just between you and me, okay? That
Okay.
the first drawing, I thought his sleeves were cloth. I didn't know they were metal.
Everybody did. You're
Yeah,
not the only one. Everybody did. It was in black and white. Who would blame them?
yeah,
The only thing that kind of tried to give you a clue was what could be bolts, but it could have been pins. It could have been anything, you
yeah,
know. So
yeah,
yeah, I did. Yeah, no question, man.
yeah.
And kind of it behaves like cloth. It is a metal,
Right,
but it behaves like cloth.
right,
So you know, it's
right.
fair enough.
Kind of like the Iron Man suit, right? Iron Man suit looks like he's wearing a lycra
Yeah,
bodysuit, but it's metal. Go figure.
yeah,
So, anyways,
exactly.
but yeah. So I've enjoyed having you on, talking a lot about Jack, talking a little bit about comics and other crap. Um, I hope this gets you a little bit more exposure. I know I don't have a big audience, but I always appreciate you coming on. And just a couple dudes talking about comics, talking about their creation. It's good stuff, man. So I appreciate it, and I appreciate the chat coming out and giving some questions to Cody. You could be a little bit more active, though. Okay, I want to put the onus on you guys. I'm just kidding. I appreciate you guys coming out, and if you can
I
hit the like button.
really appreciate all of you guys. Definitely follow, like, subscribe to Bruce here. He puts out good content, good informative content. Always a pleasure to interact with. Happy to have him on Team Ironverse Comics. Proud to have him on Team Ironverse Comics. And
Thanks.
it's a trip and a half. All the wonderful people I get to meet and interact because of this goofy idea I
Yep.
tenaciously and stubbornly followed through.
Yep. For sure. For sure. Oh, and I will say one last thing. Go support Jack. Obviously, go support Jack. I'll have a link in the description after we get done here. Definitely, that was the purpose of this video. But I will give you a little bit of news. I'm at 822, I think, 822 followers on Twitter. And I made a statement last time I had a video that when I got to 1,000, that's when I would go back with the rep. So if anybody knows anybody that wants to follow an artist and they like my art, obviously you have to like what I do, or otherwise, don't. But follow me on Twitter, and we'll just get that number up there so I can get that book out. So
He does wonderful art, folks.
thanks.
Science fiction, fantasy, and as you can tell, a little combo of the both with Jack. And yeah, make sure you guys give him that attention. It deserves it. And I want to see the wreck hit again. I want to be able to be there and back that thing. And I've been seeing the concept art you've been putting out recently, talking about the what was the Thumpers,
The
their
thumpers,
board
yeah, yeah.
utilities.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty neat. So I'm excited to dive into the Rex little bit of world and meet the team members and such. So guys, get them to 1,000. It's not too hard.
Yeah.
You can,
Yeah. I appreciate that, and I appreciate that, Cody.
yeah,
So yeah, thanks again for coming out, and thanks to chat for coming out, and share the video once it goes up, and I appreciate it. And Cody, as always, pleasure, and I'll see you on the Twitterverse like normal, I guess.
absolutely.
All
Take
right,
care.
all right, man. Good talking to you.
Absolutely.